Hello, everyone out there, and welcome back to the Elite Racing Network for tonight's DesignPing 150 live here on ERN. Should be a great race as we kick off our playoffs here at Nashville Super Speedway. About a mile and a half racetrack, maybe a little bit less. I think it's like 1.3 something or another there. As you see the race stuff come up here on your screen, you see the temperature, concrete track. It's going to be late in the day. Should have no issues with grip out here. I say that when we watch everybody be sliding around. But nonetheless, it should be a great start to the playoffs here in the Rebilas Photography Grand National Series. Chad Frankenfield getting the pull with Cutlip, Weeks, JP Phillips, and Jay Canor round out the top five. Joining me tonight in the booth, as always, is Jacob Adams and, of course, the great producer that is Dave Huck. Jake, what are you looking forward to seeing out here tonight as we kick off these playoffs?
Yeah, so we know who all the playoff drivers are. They know what they got to do the next 3 weeks to go out and make sure they stay in the position to advance again. Tough track here, so expect the guys that master turn one to be up towards the front.
Yeah, and you mentioned how tough of a racetrack it is out here. This is a very deceiving track, especially on new tires. You can drive down into turn one pretty deep and think that you're getting in there right, and that's the way to do it. But after 10 laps, you will have killed that right front tire, have to be moving up the racetrack, give it up time. So it is going to be very difficult for these drivers to master this facility and make sure they stay patient and don't burn their stuff up. This is one of the probably easiest tracks that we will run at to overdrive the car and not realizing you're overdriving the car. As the field begins to roll off, you're seeing our starting grid there. You see Seth Rawls, playoff guy, all the way back in 25th. Not what he's hoping to see for the start of this race, but I'm sure it's a long race. Long enough for him to get up there, long enough to dodge the chaos, and maybe a poor qualifying effort. You're just like, man, I just got to get to the top 10 and not lose a lot of points tonight. As that field rolls off, there you see Matthew Weeks, one of the heavy hitters of this series every season. He's a guy that you have to battle for wins, battle for championships. No matter what he is driving, what series it is, he's a guy that you're going to beat. I am sure he has got his eyes set on that championship. Right in front of him, John Cutlip, throwing in the yellow for, I don't even know what that is. It's somewhere between red, orange, and pink, I believe.
Hot pink.
I don't know about that. I think we would needed a big yellow out here tonight, but he's a guy that you have to, these first three that we're talking about here, Fody, Weeks, and Cutlip, these are guys that are setting their sights on the title from the first lap in Daytona. These guys are very fast everywhere we run, and sometimes they get a little bit lucky, sometimes not so much. Here's Jared Rexing. He's kind of had a resurgence here this season, getting that win, making the playoffs. I'm sure that he has his eyes set on just trying to take it race by race and give himself a shot at the end. Scott Crump, he's been kind of quiet around here the last couple seasons in Elite, but he's found his way into the playoffs, obviously wanting to find victory lane. And then we got Justin Wadsworth. This is the Lake Norman Motorsport section of this. You see Justin there driving for a great cause, obviously, with the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and the Cup champion last year. You got Ethan Stanley pulling back out the Dario Franchitti throwback. These are all guys who have their eyes set on the title.
Oops, I misclicked. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Tyler Pop not in the playoff, as we see Ethan Burrell out here as well, wanting to make a run at this title. We will see what he can do. David Tooker, always a threat. A lot of heavy hitters out here, Jake. I didn't realize all the heavy hitters that run in this series and run for points. And here you see Joe Francis as well, right there. That's a guy that's got to want to win here. Leighton Norgard and Seth Rawls rounding out these playoff guys back here in the back of the field. They're hoping tonight to not lose a bunch of points as the green flag is out. A little bit of a jam up here on the bottom. They all managed to get away pretty clean as a heavy cloud has rolled over this racetrack as the green comes out. See Chad Frankenfield right there in that Dale Earnhardt Sr. throwback, trying to give it a good run tonight. Jared Rexing looking 3 wide back here in the mid-pack. That's going to lead to contact between the 9, the 10, and the 90. They mess. That could have been a mess right there. They survived, but that was very aggressive for a playoff guy to be pulling that kind of maneuver to start the race. And I don't think Jay's too happy about it. Scott Crump's going to get collected. Jay Canor, Ethan Burrell in it as well. Justin Wadsworth. Oh, here comes the 24 of Hosick.
That's 3 of our playoff contenders right there.
Well, we got to look and see if Seth made it through and if Elaine made it through as well. But I think what happened right there, Jay was mad about the move that was made down in 3 and 4 by the 10. And then he overdrove turn 1 a little bit there, I believe, to try to get back at the 10, got himself sideways. And when he gets himself sideways, he's going to get loose. And then he collects the 90 and the 6. Stanley just sneaks through. Ethan Burrell, the hole closes up. I mean, just not what you want to see. And that's the thing. As a playoff guy, you might think this guy's not in the playoffs. I'm going to be aggressive and take advantage of this situation. And then, you know, as a non-playoff guy, if you're going to go in there and get somebody, you got to get somebody. You can't take out 3 cars in the playoffs and not the guy that you were intending to grab down there. I get the frustration. I understand everything that happened there, but and maybe almost like as Jake did it, he decided against it, thought better of it, and he was already in there too deep and really jammed on the brakes hard. But that's what it looked like to me. What did you see there, Jake? Did you see the same thing? It looked like the 9 took a shot at that 10 and then decided better of it at the last second. And, I mean, there was already nothing he could do. He was in there that deep.
Yeah, I don't know that he did anything to get back at anybody, but he definitely overdrove and got in there way too deep and started to get sideways and corrected it. Unfortunately, Scott Crump, Ethan Burrell right there. Ethan already said he's parking his. Crump came in pit road crab walking, so he's probably pretty close to done. Yeah, not good for 3 playoff guys already.
Here it is. You see the 10's pretty aggressive here out of 2. Drives right to his bumper. And then he just pulls out to go 3 wide. And he's barely there. The 10's barely there. They get down in there, and that forces them boxed up the track. It looks like a little bit of netcode there between all 3 guys, a little bit maybe. And I know that Jay said he didn't appreciate getting taken 3 wide after the wreck happened. I feel like he was trying to send a message and then decided better of it, or maybe couldn't get there. I'm not sure, but
yeah, on both sides of that coin, you've got as Jared Rexing, a playoff guy, came in around the bubble. You know, you kind of got to be smarter than, you know, to make that aggressive of a maneuver down the backstretch on the first lap, and then on the other side of that, being Jay not in the playoffs, you kind of got to, you know, watch how you race around the guys that are in the playoffs. And unfortunately, that took out 3 of them.
And not one of those 3 is the 10 car that he had a problem with. So he just helped Jared's chances big time. And that's the guy he was mad at. So I don't know. We'll see how this all plays out. As a playoff guy, I get that you want that respect and want the extra room, but you're not going to get the extra room making moves like that on lap 1 of the race. I will say that.
Yeah, Ethan came in with a 9-point gap to the cutoff line for this first round. Scott Crump with I believe a 2 or 3 point gap. So not good for those guys. They're going to have to be up on the wheel next week.
One thing's for sure. Green is back out. Chad has picked the top. Chad gets away once again on John Cutlip with that battle for second, raging on.
Yeah, and I like what Chad's doing, picking the top. I don't know if he's got a deal worked out with John, but you know it seems like maybe he's taking the top, and that way John.
Oh, Gerald Campbell sideways down in the 3.
Anyways, it's almost like he's picking the top so that John doesn't have to get caught out on the top and potentially get freight trained, and he can just have the bottom and just go from there.
As we're going to rewind back, there's Gerald coming off a 4. And I know he wasn't happy with whatever happened going into 3. And he turns right across the front end of the 43 once again down in the 3. Tell you what, Gerald was not pleased there. As you see, everybody really stacked up, and what you're seeing right now is everybody trying to save tires and a few guys trying to be really aggressive. As we reach back to the live, William White sideways there as we cut back to live. I'm going to tell you what, Jared Rexing is one of those guys right now. He is being super aggressive from the drop. Maybe that was a mentality coming in. He is trying to move forward.
He's already made it up to 4th place. Second and between all the playoff guys behind Jonathan Cutlip, who runs 2nd right now. So there's no better way to gain ground when you are playoff racing than to be the first guy, you know, on that grid in the race lineup, and it seems like that's what he's trying to do.
But you and I both know that you can really melt these tires around this racetrack, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens over the course of a run. And maybe he'll prove us wrong, and he'll keep the speed all the way through, but
JP Phillips making a big move on Cutlip in turn 3 for 2nd place. But the best way at this track at Nashville Super Speedway to save your tires, in my experience, is easy into turn 1, and you want to try and be as close to that yellow line without overstepping as possible for the entire corner, and kind of the same in 3 and 4. It's a little bit more forgiving in 3 and 4, but if you overdrive turn 1 and 2, you're going to melt the tires.
And one thing I've noticed back here, David Tooker and RC have moved up to the top of the racetrack to make passes in 1 and 2. Get big runs. They've gotten around Ethan Stanley doing it. As Gerald Campbell's going to take Stanley 3 wide with RC. Stanley saw what happened earlier. He just backs out of that and says, you guys go ahead.
It's probably a good decision. You know, we're still this early, just about a dozen laps in. You know, if you're getting hounded early, you kind of just, give and take. Just give now, take later, and hope they repay the favor.
Well, I think as a playoff guy, it's easy to give now because 3 guys are done. Like it's not like they got damaged and they're going to be able to be back on the lap. I mean, you're talking about Scott Crump, Ethan Burrell, Justin Wadsworth having major damage as Gerald gets up into the side of the 50 back here.
Yeah, I think Justin Wadsworth has damage, not as bad as the other 2. He's got some significant right rear damage, but he's still able to ride around. He's out here in 32nd, so he can still make something of this day, whereas the other 2 definitely not going to make anything of it. Just come out here with a couple points, if even.
And it will be very interesting to see how all this shakes out over the course of a run. You did see the graphic earlier. They have 3 sets of tires tonight. Probably going to try to split this race right in half, that 55 range or so. But there are stage points at lap 40, and we were very quickly approaching the halfway mark of this first stage. With Chad Frankenfield out front for all of them.
At lap 40 there, if you look at our pylon there on the left side of your screen, 5 of those guys in the top 10 are the playoff guys that are looking to try and maximize the amount of points that they can get. And there's no better way to maximize than be in the top 10 when those stages end.
And I'm going to tell you what, David Tooker and Tyler Fody have been putting on a battle back here for that 7th spot. I think Tooker finally got around him on that top side. We'll have to see if Tooker has hurt his tires at all, trying to make that happen. And you see RC running way up the racetrack still.
Interesting bit on Tyler Fody here.
Fody's
He's going to get hit by RC. Big save.
Wow, major damage to the right rear of the Tyler Fody machine.
That was a big-time save by Tyler. So we just started talking about him. So, you know, I guess we put the announcer's jinx on him. But as I was trying to say, average finish for Tyler Fody at Nashville Super Speedway in Elite B Series of 2.0 with an average running position of 1.2. And I was just about to say running around out there outside the top 10 is kind of hurting that average. Well, now running 17th with a little bit of damage. We'll have to see if he can recover from that.
Yeah, and I don't think there was anything malicious there, but Fody's not going to be happy nonetheless. About to have a battle for the lead between 2 non-playoff guys. JP putting the pressure on Chad right now. Driving that Dale Sr. throwback. We'll see if he's got a little bit of that Dale Sr. in him. Take this fight right back to JP. As you see, Jared Rexing got the 3rd, and then he has stabilized. But this has been, you know, we're 20 laps in. This has been a terrible start to the playoffs for Lake Norman. With all of their cars having some kind of issue outside of Ethan Staley, who just dodged the chaos. Here you see a Leighton Norgard back here in the pack, trying to work his way forward. Might be giving up a spot here to Josh Adams, whose number looks kind of funky this week. Not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, I was told he hasn't re-upped his Trading Paints Pro yet, so he's going to be running with that custom number and the sim stamped number for tonight anyway.
Oh, nearly into the side of a Leighton. Here you see Jesse Racimus right in front of him, trying to get around the 07. Couple great battles taking place well back in the pack, as we are going to see JP Phillips all over the back of Chad Frankenfield here. And this is not something we've seen a whole lot this season, is Chad Frankenfield out front over here on the stock car side. We've seen it quite a bit in the open wheel stuff, but not so much on the stock car stuff.
Well, any time in the stock car stuff, especially this series that he has whipped out this paint scheme, it hasn't lasted very long. I think he's crashed this car every time he's raced it. So now he says this week it's a Ricky Rudd throwback. So maybe Ricky Rudd is the good mojo.
I don't know about that. I guess we'll see. Now, does that mean we can call him Rubberhead? Right now, JP is all over the back of him. putting the pressure on. Jared, I think, has worn his stuff out, so I think he's kind of a roadblock for Cutlip Weeks and those guys on back.
Speaking of Cutlip, I'm waiting for the lap that he decides to flip the switch and go out of the tire saving strategy and see how fast he can go and try and get this lead before the stage ends.
I don't think he ever flips that switch to go out of tire saving. I think everybody else just slows down and he just keeps running that same pace. And we've seen it a lot at 1.5 miles with high tire wear. You know, Cutlip always seems to be around at the end of these runs and be super fast, but we always get that late yellow. We'll see what happens tonight as we go on board with Ethan Stanley. Sitting here running in the 8th position.
Well, having raced with you a lot, Chris, I know you don't like that wheel positioning.
I don't. I'm looking at it thinking, man, that thing has got to be awful.
Yeah,
No way.
Any time Chris and I race, the first thing he'll do is go and put that orange tape straight up and down. There's no way you'd be running that car right now.
Nope. We got to have that thing centered. I like it centered. Maybe a little bit of a hair to the left. But not this far. Not as far as what Ethan Stanley's got it. And that's all driver preference, too. That's all where you want that piece of tape. That's all how you want it to be. See here with Chad. See where his is. Not the same spot. So that tells me that's probably where it started, and they just were comfortable with it. Gerald, right here. Oh, into the wall.
So about 2 laps ago, we had an incident coming out of turn 2 on the back straightaway. Brandon Wilkinson, Jesse Racimus, Josh Adams. Jesse Racimus ended up through the grass. The back straightaway, lap 26.
All right, there's the 07, the 12, there's the 70.
I don't think he got
Jesse say anything.
I don't think he got any damage from it, but I saw a 1X pop up for somebody, and sure enough, it was Jesse going through the grass.
You see the 12 trying to work his way forward. He's cracked the top 15. You mentioned those playoff points. Right behind this group is a line of playoff drivers that include Tyler Fody and Seth Rawls back there.
We're on
Wadsworth is
board.
coming up behind them guys too.
We're on board watching Wilkinson there for a minute. How often on the race on Sunday do you think he was screaming at Ryan Priest to not let that 5 car go?
Quite a bit.
Seemed about every 20 laps or so.
Yeah, and I tell you, that might have been one of the worst Bristol races that has ever taken place. At that place, I mean, just what a god-awful car we've got out there on Sundays right now. You take a look here, the 20 and the 43, side by side, William White, Gavin Higgins. Neither guy having quite the season they wanted to have.
Yeah, William White, our
Josh
most
Adams.
recent ARCA champion, is kind of picking and choosing what B races that he runs this year. We saw him last week at Daytona. Now we see him again here at Nashville. As Josh tries to look to his inside.
I know Josh really thought tonight was a night where he could run really well.
Then he went and qualified 25th. Well, this pass that he's making is to crack the top 12. That's going to put him into 12th place. So he's going to go and now look at trying to make a pass on this 20. I tell you, for whatever reason, ever since Nashville Super Speedway was released on the sim, as soon as Josh got a hold of it, he figured it out right away. He's won a bunch of races here, closed down a championship, I believe one of the 2023 seasons. here at Nashville, leading 45 laps. It's his Lone Elite Championship, and it came here at this track.
Yeah, he really likes this place, but he's been on the struggle bus this season. Just hoping to salvage something tonight here to make the season, not a total loss. We'll see how it shakes out here at the end.
I believe we should have a Josh Adams points tally on the corner of our broadcast every week. We mentioned last week he had 43 points. Well, he added 2 points to that bucket last week, so he's up to 45.
One series he hasn't struggled in, though, is the Truck Series. He got that win last night at Talladega. Made the playoffs over there. I'm going to tell you, Wadsworth is very much impressing me right now with all that damage we saw him get. As you take a look here at the championship standings for this series. And we know Ethan Morrell, Scott Crook, Wadsworth really couldn't afford that. That's really going to put Wadsworth in a tough spot. Unless he can recover. He's probably, you've kicked it on stage points. You're not getting those, but...
Yeah, he's still out here chugging along in 30th, so he has gained 2 positions since I last checked in on him, and they say it every week, every point matters, and you hate talking about points, but you're in the playoffs, you have to, and like it was mentioned, Kyle Larson lost the regular season championship last year by that 1 point, so every position that Wadsworth can go out here and gain is definitely worth going and getting. So he just got Frank Fody for 29th.
Yeah, and he had to restart all the way at the back, too. So I think Wadsworth is in pretty decent shape, if I had to guess. I think he still has every opportunity to get a good finish tonight.
Yeah, that right rear damage definitely isn't boding well for him. I know ever since the most recent iRacing update, that right rear damage, it seems like it upsets the cars a lot more than it has in the past. So he's probably fighting that. But he's definitely doing a good job trying to recover here as we see Jared Rexing on the inside of Chad for the race lead.
Yeah, and I was just about ready to talk about that and talk about JP Phillips, has kind of slid all the way back. He really hurt his tires, and Jared didn't. Very much a surprise that Jared did not hurt his stuff, as you see lap traffic out in front of them, one of them being Ethan Burrell. Jared's going to want this stage for points. Chad's going to want it for pride, and he's still racing for points back in there as well. Cutlip's coming on strong. Weeks is coming on strong. Tooker and Stanley have been having a heck of a fight for that 7th spot, too, which is 1 point. 2 to go in the stage.
This is where Jared, he needs to, if he's going to make this pass, he needs to do it now. He doesn't want to stay side by side with Chad very long, or that's going to bring the 5 car, the 11 car right to their bumper and potentially make that pass a little bit more difficult for Jared.
I thought Jared might take a look down there to 3 wide, but he did not. They come off of turn 4 as they lap Ethan Burrell.
Here in a lap time, we're going to see just how much 1 point matters to Jared Rexing. Scott Crump's going to go and run right down on the racing line.
Jared's got a big run here off of 2. He went way high, got a big run off the corner. He's going to look to the bottom.
Yeah, if I learned anything from turn 1, I know that Scott ran the bottom, so if I was Jared, I would have probably went in there and ran behind Chad, and now he's going to end up maybe losing a spot to Cutlip here.
Yeah, Scott really there got in the way. And that is going to be Frankenfield, Cutlip, Rexing, Weeks, Pop, I believe. JP Phillips, David Tooker, Ethan Stanley, Gerald Campbell, and RC will get stage points. Now your mind immediately shifts to, when do I pit? When do I make this green flag stop? JP Phillips can't come soon enough for him, as he is on the backslide big time. Stanley and Tooker still going at it for that spot. Also got, like I mentioned, JP right in front of him on the backslide. As here's this battle for the lead. John Cutlip, Chad Frankenfield. Chad's not going to give these playoff guys an inch. Chad's racing hard, wanting to win this race. Same spot that we talked about with Josh Adams. You know, he's wanting to get something out of this season. He wants a positive.
Yeah, I think just a solid top 15 with how this season has been will be a positive for Chad. Obviously, he doesn't want a top 15; he wants first. But anything's better than basically the way it's been going.
You see Tyler Pop right in there as well. Here comes Weeks. He's going to have a pretty decent run off of 2. Takes the look. Maybe surprise Chad just a little bit. They come off of 4. Weeks is going to be by. How long does Chad sit out here now, knowing that these guys are probably not going to pit anytime soon, being playoff guys?
Yeah, if I have my numbers right, we should be seeing pit stops anywhere around, if you go the full fuel, anywhere from about 20 laps from now. But if you're somebody like a Chad that you're not racing for points anymore, I'd just do something different and see if you can get off sequence and try and better your position that way. So obviously you figured out you don't have the long run pace over these guys, so you might as well try and stop the bleeding and do something.
Yeah, and based on what I'm looking at for numbers here, they can run about 65 laps of fuel, which opens that pit window up here in about 3 laps. And that's with 2 pace laps, so maybe you stretch 66.
That's something if I'm one of those guys up there, like a Chad or a Pop Phillips, I would pit as soon as the window opens. If you're a playoff guy and you pit as soon as the window opens, and then a caution comes out, well, now you've potentially got yourself trapped a lap down, and have to possibly rely on a lucky dog situation and racing in the playoffs. You really don't want that. So I would expect most of these playoff guys to wait.
I'm going to tell you what, David Hooker just did a bump and run to the 38, but he didn't quite get running. He knocked him up the track, but he has not made the pass yet.
Yeah, when you make a guy mad like that, that's why they call it a bump and run. You want to make that bump and then you get out of there. You want to get out of Dodge, and obviously JP Phillips still hanging on his quarter panel. Tooker's going to complete the pass now. JP's under fire by Ethan Stanley.
RC going to come through right there with Stanley as well, it looks like. Sky got all his damage fixed. He's making pretty good time, but he's, I believe, like 12 laps down or so. So 13 laps down.
Yeah, so right now Scott's doing the thing nobody ever wants to do, and just have to ride around 12 laps down. You don't have it tonight, but he is hoping for maybe a couple more crashes and let some attrition play out so that he can go and gain, even if it's just another spot or 2. Anything would be good for him.
I think Gerald Campbell's going to be the first guy to pit.
Yep, I heard that call out. He's going to do that out of 10th place. So we'll have to watch and see how this works out for him.
Super fast coming into the pits there.
That pit stop's going to move Josh Adams into the top 10. That puts him 10th place. So I heard from Josh just a few laps ago. He says he thinks he's got it tonight. So he's really liking how the car's driving. So we'll have to see how the pit strategy plays out and if he can get some more track position.
Yeah, and we saw Seth there, looking at Joe Francis, looking at Tyler Fody. They're needing something to happen out here tonight. They are going to need some help. There you see Johnny Thomas battling with William White. We've seen a lot of guys on the inside of William White. And all of these guys are going to be paying attention to how fast Gerald is right here out of the pits. As he just blended up. So now they're going to be watching and they're going to be saying, okay, what kind of pace does Gerald have? How much faster are you on new tires?
We're right at that 60 to go mark right now, so if the 60 laps is correct,
Oh, and Krupp has
we've got
blown
Crump
up.
blown up.
Very unfortunate for him, just trying to stay out here and pass guys who might fall out later. And
I believe he's got enough speed to get to pit road without bringing out a yellow, so it's good there.
in that speed difference, a lot. Gerald is going to carve through these guys like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, he's hoping that these guys wait until the absolute last second to pit, and he can get max gain out of this, and he'll be leading by a mile if everybody does wait. Big
One guy who
pickup
is
here for
pitting,
Gerald, though.
Seth Rawls. Seth Rawls just called out he's going to be pitting. That's a playoff guy, but that's one of those last in line playoff guys. I like the call when you're that far back. Got to do something. Got to try to jump some track position somewhere.
He's had a pretty nice entry to pit road. We'll see how good the pit crew is now.
They're all wearing their invisibility cloaks out here. Can't see them.
Yeah, it might be a good thing. We saw the pit stop with Suarez's pit crew had that, tire come flying at them yesterday. So it's a good thing this is all, video game and whatnot. So that had to have been a pretty scary situation for Suarez's crew yesterday.
I think it's more scary looking at it after because I don't think they saw it coming in the moment.
Yeah, the next thing you know, you've got a rogue tire flying off your car. And you're like, where'd that thing come from? So it wasn't yours.
How long do you wait to pit here? I mean, we're down to probably 5-6 laps max you can go.
Yeah, if I'm cut lip, I'm waiting until the last possible second. I know I have the long run speed, and I'll go and get that back on the other end of it. I like the move by Rawls to pit early, and now if I'm like a Tommy Ryan or Joe Francis, I'm kind of surprised Joe Francis hasn't come already.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Chad or Tyler Pop on pit road just yet. Chad's kind of fallen off. Tyler Pop running there in 5th. You're not in the playoffs. Why are you going to stay out this long? I think you come early, get the track position back, force them to pass you again.
One thing to note here on our pit stops, Connor Thompson, speeding penalties coming down to serve a drive-through penalty.
What do you think about the 13 and the 15 still being out here? I think they need to be on pit road.
Yeah, we already talked about it earlier. If I was those guys that not really having anything to race for, It's the 15 anyway. I would have expected them to pit already.
The double zero's coming up behind them all on fresh tires right now.
Maybe Chad's mindset is, if I want to win the race, I want to keep the 5 out, where I can see him. So I'll just do the same thing he does, and maybe hope that I can save my tires a little bit better on this next run, and see what happens. Maybe get to pit road a little bit better.
My argument against that would be: do you think you're as good as Tyler? Do you think you're as good as John Cutlip saving tires? And I think the answer is no. So I
don't think there's very many. I can maybe count on one hand anybody that's like as close to Jonathan in that regard, but
you see Gerald working his way around these boys. RC's been on pit road. Seth, Jeff Green, David Carpenter. And Gerald drives back onto the lead lap. I think we're down to just, we've got just a lap or so here.
we talked about Josh Adams with the speed he thought he had earlier. He's making his pit stop now, and he just let me know he's the only car on the track matching lap times with Jonathan Cutlip. So we'll have to keep an eye on that on the other side of the pit stops.
Yeah, my thing is, without a caution, you're 3 seconds behind him before pit stops. You're going to need a caution to cover that ground. As you see the campfire taking place down there on pit road. Everybody grab your marshmallows or your weenies and head to the 90 pit for a weenie roast. You think, well, actually, where that looks to be, you think that's coming out of the car or the driver helmet?
Yeah, it's probably coming out of the top of the helmet. I would think maybe lap 2 when it happened is probably coming out of the helmet for sure, but
RC going to the top of 3 wide out here on his fresh tires.
See Chad on pit road, Dustin Dewar on pit road, David Tooker to pit road.
I think all these guys ran as long as they could. When does Cutlip come? Not yet. Weeks just missed the cone on entry, I think. Matthew Weeks, I believe, just missed the cone on entry. Did he make it? Oh, the cone's the second line, not the first line. I thought the cone was right there, but it's on down. Weeks dodged a bullet, and that's going to end up being fast. That's really fast for Weeks.
Yeah, I wonder, somebody had to have gotten out and hit that cone, and maybe Weeks had his marker wrong. So he was looking for the cone to be in the right spot, and he probably looked up and didn't see it.
Tell you, that was a great entry, though, by Weeks, whether on purpose or accident. Cutlip's still out here making laps, along with, I believe Rexing's on pit road, right?
Yeah, Rexing is sitting on pit road.
Here comes John. Looks like Tommy Ryan, Michael Hosick, both got black flags here. So we wait to see what's going to happen on the cycle out. Here comes Johnny Thomas, maybe even a little bit out of fuel. Here comes Harrison. And Gerald Campbell's going to be the leader. First one to pit road. Pays dividends right now.
And we probably don't expect him to lead the race for very long, but now he's in the situation where he's hoping for a caution before he starts getting passed, and he can pit again from the lead.
I'll tell you, Chad Frankenfield, all the way up to 4th right now. Right on the back of Ethan Stanley, you got RC, Seth right there. Josh Adams with a great cycle there for himself.
Yeah, he jumped up in front of Matthew Weeks, so we saw Matthew Weeks running second before the pit cycle started.
I think Cutler stayed out too long. I mean, he's only got 2, maybe 3 lap fresher tires than most of the guys in front of him. I think Cutlip stayed out here way too long.
Yeah, we all know that even just 1 lap fresher tires on iRacing means a lot more than it probably really should. But he should be able to use those tires to get a bunch of positions back and pretty close to where he was. But Matthew Weeks had equal pace as you. I would have probably answered as soon as he pitted.
Well, and another thing, too, are all these guys just going to roll over and let you go so you can keep your lap time? I doubt it. It's pretty hard to pass out here. So he very easily could get stuck, have to work on a guy for a couple, 2 or 3 laps. And that's just one guy.
The decision with when all these guys pitted means a 6-second lead for Gerald Campbell, so he's going to be leading for a little bit. RC into second, but it has put Ethan Stanley as our top playoff driver, and he's got about 2 seconds over Matthew Weeks right now.
Matthew Weeks is driving pretty hard here. Seth Rawls really backing up, but he was the first playoff guy to pit. RC just pulled off the racetrack. I don't know what just happened to RC, but he just pulled off the racetrack.
That was RC running second place, and I know he told me pre-race he's been having some issues with random lag spikes. I don't know if maybe he thought he was blinking, and
that looks like a guy who everybody disappeared on his end. That's what that looks like. He's going to cruise around the pit road.
Yeah, RC let me know. He was pulling into that very first pit box. He looks like he might possibly be done for the night. Maybe he's adjusting a setting or something. Who knows?
But he was running second at the time.
Have we had anybody be parked by the new network connectivity issue? The black flag for network connectivity?
I don't believe so. It's very lenient. That black flag deal that I scattered is very lenient. I think it has to be.
And here we go. RC has left the server, so that's. We'll have to try and figure out if we can't see what's going on in that 50 camp.
Yeah, you see this battle for second about to take place.
So the one silver lining for that situation, he's not in the playoffs, so that's the one good thing. If he did have a real world situation he had to maybe go take care of, he's not really giving anything up here, so.
And here's what I was talking about with John. 13, just roll over and let him go. Now he's going to try to work on a 12. 12's trying to get around the 25. And now the 5 is trapped. He's got to follow the 12. Now he's got to try to go to work on the 12. This battle for second rages on as they run down Gerald Campbell. Cutlip moving to the top is finally going to get around the 12, but he had to go to the top to do it.
Yeah, and the big thing, 33 laps to go, and he's got 6.5 seconds to make up. And you know, I do think I don't know. I don't think he's gonna have the time to get there. Initially, I thought he was gonna have the time to get there with the couple lap pressure tires.
But 12's around on the front stretch. He's going to slide down the pit road into the pit wall. Here we go, off the corner. Just, man, I don't know that there was necessarily, I think that's two guys coming together. I know the 12 is not happy. Especially for his playoff hopes there, but just unfortunate. We did stay green. It is still green out here. $13 could have been lower, but I don't know that he was necessarily wrong for being up there a little bit more. Meanwhile, we're about to have a lead change right here at the front. And there it is. They all passed Gerald Campbell in one turn. Matthew Weeks has got the freshest tires out of anybody. So Chad fought hard to get here. And now Weeks is going to try to take it from him real fast here.
Rexing 1 lap pressure on.
Rexing 1 lap fresher than the 15 or the 11?
In the 11.
Oh, so Rexing's got these guys both beat then. I thought Weeks was one of the last ones to come down.
He was lap 66 and Rexing was 67.
So Rexing might be sitting in a good spot here, but Chad is going to put up a fight. And this is what Cutlip wants to see. This is what's going to bring Cutlip into this race. And they're 3 wide.
The lead. We've saw this once tonight.
Nobody's going to give. The 2 on the bottom make some contact. They're going to be able to do it again. Can they survive twice? You did it once.
That's good stuff right here. 2 guys racing for a championship. Chad not, and nobody's lifting, giving an inch. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, Weeks to the front. Now Chad's got to fight for second. And that was great for Cutlip. That couldn't have went any better for Cutlip to try to make up some time all at once.
Yeah, he gained a half a second while they were 3 wide, which it wasn't a whole lot. He's still 4 seconds back. He needs to start making up some chunks.
Gerald Campbell really struggling right now. Of course, we knew that was going to happen with him staying out, or excuse me, with him being the first guy to pit road. He has now got the oldest tires by far of anybody on the racetrack. Gerald's wanting a caution. That's what Gerald's wanting. Taking a look here at Johnny Thomas along with Justin Wadsworth. just inside the top 20. Well, this battle is actually for like 19, 20, 21 right there, if you add the 70 to him. They work around Mark.
Yeah, this is what Wadsworth needed to do after he was in that lap 2 or 3 crash, is come out here and just gain as many positions as he could. And this is going to put him up into 20th right here. And he sees he's got 4 guys on behind him that have that red on their number on our banner there that are not having so good nights.
And here you see the change taking place at second. The 10 is through. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking if we get a caution, that 15 is going to bolt on 2 right sides and go for broke.
Think so?
Yep.
I guess I would say it wouldn't surprise me. We saw him stay out last week with who knows how many minutes damage to try and make something happen at Daytona. So we know he's not against trying something. So we've let a couple laps run off here, going back and checking that gap to Cutlip. He's still 4 seconds back, so his tires have leveled off.
And you know, there is one thing we haven't had an opportunity to do, and I really hate to do this, but we have to get one in. Yeah, we got to pay the bills, so we're going to take a commercial break here with 20 to go, and we'll be back here around 15 to go to bring you all the way to the checker flag, so stick with us here and go and check out our sponsors that you're going to see here in this commercial break.
In the blue egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Fueling big to win big. Blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, ooh, big. To win big, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with blue egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, win big.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Welcome back here to the DesignPing 150 live on the Elite Racing Network. DesignPing is a design agency that specializes in creating websites and digital content that not only look incredible but also enable your business to outperform all of your competitors. Make sure you check out DesignPing.com to learn more. So shout out to all our sponsors. As right now, we are down to 17 to go, and Jake and I, as well, I'm not sure if Dave could hear these guys in the chat, but Jake and I were just given the knowledge that the 5 somehow accidentally took 2 right side tires on his green flag pit stop. And it kind of checks out with the pace he's had after the pit stop.
Yeah, he's actually lost during our commercial break there. almost half a second to the leader. He's down to 4.4 back. And definitely if he was on 4, I think he would have probably been pretty close to back by now, but he's definitely, those 2 tires have leveled off for him.
And that puts you in a box inside of 15 to go. I think we're going to see, if a caution comes out, a group of 2-tire takers. And if you haven't changed lefts all race, your hands are tied. You got to take 4 if you're Cutlet. This battle for P4 right here. Josh Adams, Ethan Stanley.
Yeah, we've
Stanley's
said
going
it
to
a
be
lot.
happy with tonight.
Desperately needs a good run out of that 23. He's running 5th now. I think he's got the pace to go up there and probably finish about 3rd place if he can get by Stanley.
Yeah, and Stanley, if Stanley's sitting here, he's got to be thinking, even if he gives up the spot to Josh, it's a great night. We've seen 4 guys have big trouble, one of them being his teammate. Tommy Ryan got that black flag on the pit stop, so really 5 playoff guys have had some kind of major issue tonight. And all Stanley needed was, to be solid here. He entered well above the cut. And so he's got to be happy with the night if it stays green and he manages to finish. We'll go ahead and say Josh passes him and he gets 5th. That's all you need if you're Stanley. And even Tyler Fody right there, he's driven back into the top 10.
Yes, if you're Stanley, you came in 11 points out of the lead in points, and he's going to capitalize on a couple points on cut lip and then probably take over 2nd place in points from his teammate.
Of course, you got Weeks and Rexing sitting out here. One of them 2 trying to lock in if it stays green. Looking like Weeks for the time being.
Yeah, Rexing entered pretty close to the cut line, so definitely a 2nd place with all the other issues a lot of the other guys have had. He should feel pretty good going into our race next week at Road America.
Weeks stretching it out a little bit here.
Definitely if you're a guy that you're in the playoffs and you're unsure about your positioning and you don't like road courses, you want to maximize as many points as you can get here.
Something just happened off of 4 to Justin Wadsworth. Not sure what happened.
It's not a guy that wants to have issues with the problems he's already had tonight.
Oh, it starts way back here.
Yeah, it seems like maybe a difference in tires with him and Jesse, and he kind of just ran into the back of Jesse. I don't know if he was trying to get to the bottom or...
Yeah, not sure what happened there. Just gets into the back of him, spins himself out. Tells me he was trying not to hit him.
Yeah, luckily iRacing kept the yellow flag in the flag stand, and Barney didn't wave that. It's a good call there by Barney. Josh Adams, you see, still trying to make that pass. Puts the bumper at Ethan Stanley.
Yeah, and what happened here is they both caught Chad.
Well, Josh has been trying to make this pass for a dozen laps or so. And obviously, Stanley's not going to give it up. Doesn't want to give it up. But maybe, this might be a good chance just to give up this position. You got this guy hounding your bumper, give up this spot, and then go past Chad, and it's almost like you a wash for where he was running.
Yeah, I think if I was Ethan Stanley, I would not be putting up this much of a fight over 1 point right here. Especially with all the guys that have had trouble, have already had trouble. This just doesn't... You're asking to get used up.
And if I'm Josh, as he's pushing Stanley off into turn 3 again. If I'm Josh, I'm hoping he's being smart also and realizing that, that's a playoff guy, even though, he has had a couple run-ins with Lake Norman recently. But, now's not the time to, cash in on anything. You just want to go and make that pass since it's actually got the inside here.
Stanley running way up the racetrack. I think Stanley finally just gave up on it. That doesn't look like taking the fight to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's probably a good move by Ethan there. Just, that's one point that he really doesn't need, because he's going to go and win next week, so he's going to lock himself in next week probably. So, he's probably not too worried about that 1 point.
Now Josh has got 4 to go at the line. They're trying to make something happen on the back of Chad.
Does he lose the Labani name, Chris, if we get to talk to him here?
It's got to take more than one run to lose. Terry Labani won a race in 2003 at Darlington, so we got to see it more than just one occasion,
Yeah, well,
he will probably nearly double his point total tonight.
Yeah, there's
Not
that.
quite, but nearly there.
We were just talking about Ethan Stanley. He's going to win next week at Road America. We know Josh isn't, so he probably is going to slip back into his old habits. As we see this race for third, let's not forget that Matthew Weeks is leading. Jared Rexing hanging just about 7/10 back. Not really missing anything there.
Daryl
Matthew
Campbell
looks to lock in
about
here.
to fall out of the top 10, I believe. Saw him be the first guy to pit, and he needed a caution there. Didn't get it.
Yeah, that's a word we don't want to mention right now. We don't want to jinx it again. So, obviously Matthew Weeks doesn't want it. Everybody else does. I would venture to say Jared Rexing probably doesn't want the caution either. He just wants it to play out. Everybody else is probably hoping for one more chance at it.
I don't know. I think those playoff guys, 5th through 8th, they're content getting this white flag. With the white flag is out. One more lap around for Matthew Weeks, and he will lock into the next round.
And we've seen Matthew Weeks win some big races in Elite, and this right here is going to be one step closer to going and winning himself another Elite championship.
He's going to come through 3 and 4. He's going to win the Concrete Canyon here at Nashville Super Speedway. Give it to Matthew Weeks, playoff driver, wins the first playoff race, locks himself into the next round, right in front of Jared Rexing. Chad Frankenfield is going to get 3rd. Josh Adams, Ethan Stanley, Jonathan Cutlip, David Tooker, Tyler Fody, JP Phillips, and Gavin Higgins will round out your top 10. With Joe Francis in 15th.
We saw a lot of guys there that were desperate for some good runs. Finish off some good runs, the 15 and the 23 for sure. Matthew Weeks picking up the win, that's big for him. It's guaranteed to not have to worry about Road America and Talladega.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at these playoff guys. Seth Rawls here in 16th as well. And then we get back here to Justin Wadsworth, 25th. Tommy Ryan, 29th. Ethan Morrell, 34th. Alayton, 35th. Scott Crump, 38th.
Yeah, we saw the big the melee on lap 2 that took out Ethan Burrell, Scott Crump, Justin Wadsworth. We saw the contact on the front straightaway with Alayton that took him out. And there's that quote that championships aren't won on your best day; they're won on your worst day. And some of those guys that were able to rebound a little bit, like we saw Wadsworth before he slid there. He was trying to make that rebound out of a bad day and kind of slipped back into it.
What a drive for Weeks, though, to get that done, to get that win, to get that monkey off your back right at the start of the playoffs, not have to worry about a road course. Like, some of these guys are going to go to Road America and try to make something happen as far as a top 10 or a top 7.
You know what this does for him is he can go and practice Rockingham as much as he wants. That's going to be the track that opens up the second round.
And we don't yet have Chad Frankenfield.
We've not gotten to talk to Chad Frankenfield at all this season, so we're hoping he joins that waiting room for us so we can get his insight on the race.
Well, and what we'll do while we give Chad a chance to get in here and for his interview from third, we'll take one more quick break here, and then we'll come back for interviews and wrap up the night here at Nashville.
3 years of sellout crowds, 3 years of edge-of-your-seat action, 3 years of jaw-dropping finishes. Worldwide Technology Raceway has rocked the world of NASCAR, and now NASCAR is giving us another reason to celebrate. The 2025 NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs are coming Sunday, September 7th, 2025. Just when you thought the racing couldn't get any more intense, now every single lap matters. One wrong move could be the difference between elimination and being crowned the king. The Enjoy Illinois 300, the Confluence Music Festival, the NASCAR Cup Series Playoffs, and for the first time in 15 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday, September 6th. Don't be on the outside looking in. See history being made in your own backyard. Go to www.raceway.com for the hottest ticket of the year.
And welcome back to Nashville, where, Jake, I believe you're standing by down there with Jared Rexing, our runner-up tonight.
Yeah, I'm here with Jared Rexing. Jared, we saw you finish runner-up. It's starting the playoffs with a big points haul here. So just go ahead and take us through your night and your outlook for the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah, Jacob, it was a good night. I mean, kind of disappointed with second with the speed we had, but I just wasn't as an efficient of a passer as Matthew and Jonathan. I was stuck behind Chad for feel like 80 laps of that race. So if I could have got by him a little bit sooner at any point, it might have looked differently. But hats off to Matthew getting the win and getting through the next round. It was a really good race. You had that one early yellow, and other than that, can't even really count that. It ran like a caution-free race. So really good night. Happy with second and hope the momentum rolls on through this round of the playoffs.
We saw you take a big 3-wide move there for the lead with Matthew and Chad. Do you think if you could have completed that, could you have held off Matthew?
Yeah, for sure. It was a very track position kind of night. If I would have been ahead of Matthew, I definitely could have held him off. But and I had one lap fresher tires on him, maybe 2 laps. But yeah, I thought that was my best chance. Some guys, when you stick it 3 wide on them, they'll kind of get nervous and wash up or mess up. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to make this pass, maybe being aggressive will get it done. But they all did good. We were 3 wide for about a lap and a half, I think. So it was good racing really between me and Chad and Matthew. And I'm glad it ended up clean the whole way through and we finished 1, 2, 3. So happy with second. It's a bummed out not to get the win in advance, but I think we'll be good enough to point our way to the next round.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely have the points. But Road America, how are you feeling about that? And then Talladega after that. So definitely a good thing to get some points here. So what's your outlook for those next 2 races?
Yeah, I'm normally a top 10 car at the road courses, and I like Road America. So if I can come away clean there and get a top 10 finish, I should be sitting all right going into Dega. And as long as I don't wreck lap 1, I think I'll be okay. That's kind of what I did last season, and it got me through pretty good. Unfortunately, that's where it ended on round 1, but yeah, I'm looking good. Looking forward to Road America and hopefully a stress-free Talladega after that.
All right. Well, the Nesquik car definitely looked quick. So go ahead and tell us who gets that car on the track and makes it look as sporty as it is.
Yeah, shout out to Gerald and the team Aggressive Eagle. Gerald had a good showing, led some laps, but was on an alternate strategy there, hoping for a yellow. But and then Joey got in the playoffs, so hopefully he can rebound, get a good run at Road American Talladega and get 2 cars in this next round.
All right, Jared, we'll go ahead and let you go. Congratulations on your second place finish, and we'll look forward to seeing you the rest of the playoffs.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Well, all right, boys. I am standing here with race winner Matthew Weeks. Matthew, talk to us about your night. Obviously, just the one caution early on, and you are now locked into the next round. So tell us what that means to you going into a place like Road America.
Well, good thing I won, because I had to bring it up last season. I think I had like 3 wins in the regular season, and I got knocked out in the first round. So this is good, and finally get this win out early, so I don't have to worry about it. And Road America, I mean, I'm kind of confident about it because I won a league race there not too long ago running this car. So I'm actually kind of excited about running that. I know I'm not too good at those, so kind of. And then winning tonight, they just, like I said, a breather. Then you got this and Dega, so much better now. I don't have to worry about nothing besides the next round. And tonight was good. We qualified decent. I knew track position would be kind of key, and really I was just taking care of my tires. I hated that first caution coming out because it killed, Ethan and a couple other playoff guys. So that's just unlucky to have that early on, but I hate it, but it kind of helps me in the same way because it takes out some contenders. But had a good run. I was just taking care of my tires really good there. I knew the right front would come into play, and then it felt like John and I were probably the quickest cars in the long run. I just was stuck at 3/10, 4/10 behind him since we got up front there leading. He was leading, and if it wasn't for his mistake on pit road, you'd probably be talking to him sitting here in victory lane, because I guess he accidentally still had his 2 tires checked, and then he put 2 tires on instead of 4. So that's really what got me pretty much in victory lane. So it sucks for John, but thank you, John, for messing up.
Yeah, and to win Nashville, to win that first race, that's got to send a message to everybody else. So what's your outlook here for the rest of the season now? Do you go ahead and start looking to that second round?
Yeah, you should know me. Every time in this car and the Cup car, I look to try to make the championship 4. That's my goal, is to get there to contend. I know I think it was 2 seasons ago or 3, something like that. I went like 2 in a row. I made it there, and I gave one away to Stanley by pitting a lap too early. And I knew I did that, and I screwed that one up. And that was one I wish I could take back, or I would already be a champion, I think. And then, so now, after the start of the season, I didn't even think I was going to make the playoffs. With the first couple weeks, I think my best finish was like 12th, and that was at Atlanta when I stayed out on them old tires. And then luckily we got lucky and we won Indy right there. We was just in the right spot at the right time late, and took advantage of that, and that really carried our momentum. And now we've been top 5 pretty much every week, besides, I don't remember if we ran a road course or not, but pretty much running up here contended. And now to start the playoffs with a big win, to let these guys know, I'm kind of back. I'm still feel like I'm a little off. I'm not 100% back on my game yet, but now we can just focus on trying to win a race in that next round and get into that championship race and try to win the championship. This is the series I want to, since I've won the Cup one, so this is one I do want. And to win here at Nashville, this is one of those tracks I've always wanted to win at since it got put on the sim, and to win an elite, it feels good. I'm glad to finally win here.
Well, all right, Matthew, before we let you jump out of here, who helps get you to the racetrack weekend?
My buddy Justin Vandermeer, this beautiful paint scheme, man. He paints all my cars and a couple other cars in the field. Hit him up at JV Designs on Twitter. Betty watching over there, Ethan, hope you enjoyed that. We put a whooping on him tonight. I would like to feel John and I were pretty dominant, so glad you was watching and supporting us guys over here. And you guys in the booth, you guys do a good job. I can't wait to go back, run it back, and see what kind of stuff y'all say, because y'all give some certain energy, and I like it when we watch these races back. So can't wait to run it back. And Chad for everything he does, and all the sponsors that's part of this that help things go around. We couldn't do what we do, I think, without those guys. So a huge shout out to those. And everyone that watching all the Pro Wedge guys that ran good. Feel bad for Ethan getting caught up. Sucks Tate couldn't make it. I knew he would be really fast here, so it's kind of a godsend that he didn't race. And shout out to John. I think he should have won tonight, but that little mistake. So it was good to finally be able to race him for a win, and then that mistake happened. It sucks, but John's just one of those guys you want to race against all the time. He's so good, and he plays himself down a lot, and he shouldn't. He's a hell of a driver, and hopefully we can battle it again for a win in the future here.
All right, Matthew, congrats on the win. We can't wait to see you out there with nothing to lose next week at Road America.
Yeah, we're full send next 2 weeks, especially Dega.
Well, Chad has finally showed up, Jake, and I think he's going to have a word with you.
All right, yep, I've got Chad Frankenfield, CEO, COO, whatever we want to call it, Elite Racing League. Finished third tonight, so go ahead and take us through your night and how'd it go for you?
Well, apparently we don't have him.
I agree. Best he's ever sounded. Chad, can you hear us?
Well, while we're waiting to see if he's able to get his stuff straightened around as he has left.
He needs to. He hasn't practiced finishing top 3 enough. Chad Frankenfield, testing. You got us?
Maybe this is Morse code. He's communicating in Morse code. We need a translator. Well, while we try to get that straightened around, we'll talk about the night. It was a great night in Nashville. Lots of great racing. That one early caution is all we had on lap 2, and it was one that's going to set the stage for the rest of the playoffs for a group of guys. Any final thoughts from you guys tonight, Jake or Dave, while Chad tries to get his stuff figured out? And Chad, if you get it working, feel free to butt in.
Yeah, well, like you said, we basically saw a basically caution-free race from lap 2 on. Unfortunate that took out some heavy hitters in our playoffs, and kind of sets the stage for some guys that need to go points racing. And in my opinion, points racing, I don't want to be points racing at a road course in Talladega for sure. So some of those guys are going to have their work cut out for them the next 2 weeks.
And what about you, Dave? Any final thoughts from you?
No, I'm still trying to figure out why we can't hear Chad. Sorry, move on from me.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to all our sponsors. Everybody at Blue Wave Marketing for all that they do. Everybody at Worldwide Technology Raceway. They've got that playoff race this year for the Cup Series, and everything races there now. So that is a big deal there to get all those series out there. And, of course, DesignPing. Tonight they were the sponsor. Couldn't do without DesignPing, without Mark Rebilas and all that he does. And, of course, without Dave here at ERN. And Chad Frankenfield, who I think we have now as we were wrapping this up. Chad, you got us.
I think I muted my mic. Yeah, that'll do it.
All right, Chad, so give us a rundown.
We were basically just asking you for a rundown, how your race went. We saw you lead a lot of laps out there, and made the 15 car look a lot faster than it has all year.
Yeah, I felt like I had pace this season. Maybe not like leading top 3 pace every week, but definitely like top 10. And I either had really bad luck or I did something stupid on my end, throw points away. It was just nice to log some laps and try to just let the race come to me there. I felt like early in the run I was the fastest, and I honestly felt like the last couple laps of a run I was pretty good. It's just that middle, I don't know, there's like a middle 15-20 lap span where like I was not where I needed to be to compete for the win. So, but either way, it was fun. Good clean race all the way around.
All right, so obviously not in the playoffs. You're basically just out there trying to collect checkered flags. Is there any race the rest of the season you have circled you think it'll come at?
Not really. I mean, I'm just trying to enjoy myself on these Monday series races. Road America will be fun, obviously. Rockingham, I'm pretty good. Iowa, I've won at. But yeah, I'm just trying to. My goal is to just make myself relevant in terms of points. Where top 15 would be great, top 20 in points would be great. So, that's the goal. But really, just to see how I feel going into next season. If I want to run full time next season or not, just kind of see how I finish out the year.
Well, all right. We'll go ahead and let you get your shout-outs out of the way. And I know Chris is going to want you in the booth next year. We've already talked about that. So the floor is yours for your shout-outs.
Yeah, it's kicking the tires. I haven't been able to do that this season, giving them a shout out. So it's credit to those guys. The Racing Network, Rebilas Photography, Blue Egg Marketing, Worldwide Technology Raceway, Hoosier 500, IndyCar Radio, everyone that on the car. I had days gone by on the car this week, so that was cool. But other than that, I mean, that's really it. Just shout out to you guys for doing what you guys do, and week that had some issues, so the drama should definitely be there the rest of the playoffs.
All right. That's Chad Frankenfield, our third place finisher tonight here at Nashville.
And we've already took care of everything we need to take care of as we gave Chad a chance to come in here and talk about all that he does. And he's not going to talk about himself too much, but he and Dave run this place, and it makes it a lot of fun, and they make it pretty easy on everybody else. So shout out to him and Dave for all that they do, keeping everybody in line, keeping track of everything. But that's going to do it for us for tonight. Full slate of racing this week. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I know the trucks are going to be back in action, not next Sunday. We're off next week. But I believe the 27th, and I believe it'll be at Michigan. So make sure you tune back in for that. And you'll have us back with you next Monday. So everybody have a great week. Have a fun time. I promise the winter weather's almost over, but while you're stuck inside, try to avoid that cold front that's coming through. Make sure you tune into the Elite Racing Network and catch all this live racing action on here. But that'll do it for tonight. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place.